will continue with the coding part now. So first of all, we are starting the Arduino Uno, right? The code the code for the Arduino Uno while and the code for the ESP12 is almost similar, right? Only difference is that you may have the Wi-Fi thing in this, right? ESP12, but for Arduino Uno, Wi-Fi is not supported, right? So if you want a Wi-Fi support or Wi-Fi capability in Arduino Uno, you have to use the ESP8266 board. So the coding will remain the same, right? So we will start with the coding of this. So first of all, when we are using a Node MCU or the ESP12, we need to have the Wi-Fi library, right? Because if Wi-Fi library is not present, then the code will be very long, right? It will be very long because you have to define everything. Basically starting from the connection part, right? From authentication part, everything you have to define. So instead of defining everything, we will be using the ESP8266 Wi-Fi library. So first of all, we will include the ESP8266 Wi-Fi library in this. So the syntax will be #include, right? ESP. So before writing the code, I forgot to tell one thing, that first of all we need to change our board, right? So first of all we will go to the tools. Then here we can see that the board used is Arduino Uno, right? So here you won't have options like this, ESP32 and ESP8266. These options will not be there in your Arduino IDE, because these options will be available only when you add these boards to your board manager. So what we have to do is, when you use a Node MCU board or your ESP12E board, you need to add this board to your Arduino IDE. They are not present by default. You have to add these boards to your Arduino IDE. So this can be done by, you have to go to your preferences, right? In the file preferences, you please write down the steps, because the steps are important if you want to use ESP12 in your projects or in your products. Okay, so first of all what you have to do is, you have to go to file, right? Then you will go to preferences. Now here you can see that additional board managers URL. Okay, so any board that you have to add, the link will be given here. Okay, so the links are given here. If you want to add a ESP32 module to your Arduino IDE, then this is the link. Okay, just a second, I'll copy this link. You can note down this links. These links are for adding the boards to your ESP12. These are the links to add boards to your Arduino IDE. Okay, so this is the first link. You can note it down. Take a screenshot of this link, or you can note it down in your book or somewhere, right? So this is the first link, that is for the ESP32 package, right? And this is the second link. This is for ESP8266 package, right? So the ESP12E board is present in this package. Okay, if you want to use your ESP32 board, then you have to use this link, right? Since I am using both the links, since I am using both the boards, I have to write down both the links in my preferences, that is additional board manager. So the links can be written, multiple links can be written by placing a comma in between them. Okay, so you can write the links like this and paste it in your additional board manager URL. Okay, now let us see what is there in this link. Okay, when you browse this link, what is the response from this link? We will see that first. So let us go here first. So now here you can see that there are packages which are present in this, right? When this link is accessed by the Arduino IDE, right, some packages are downloaded. Here you can see that the first package is of ESP32, right? It is downloaded from this link, right? So in this link there are multiple links which are accessed, and multiple packages are downloaded. Okay, so after this multiple packages are downloaded, they are set up in your Arduino IDE, and hence you get multiple boards in your Arduino IDE. So this is the first package which is downloaded, that is the ESP32 1.0.4.zip, right? Then this is the second package which is downloaded, ESP32 1.0.3.zip, right? Multiple packages are downloaded. The tool depends ESP32, right? ESP tool underscore py, right? The ESP12 can be programmed in two ways, right? Using your embedded C also, as well as you can use MicroPython for this, right? This device is capable of being coded in Python language. So you can also use USP tool underscore py for coding, right? So whenever you want to upgrade your firmware, or whenever you want to add a new firmware to it, or a modified firmware to it, you have to use this tool, that is the ESP tool underscore py, right? And this is another package which is available. So this all files are downloaded when you add this link to the board manager. Now for the ESP12E, that is ESP8266 package, we'll see what all things are there inside this. So here we can see that here also there are multiple files, right? The generic ESP8266 module, the 8285 module, ESP Duino, Adafruit, Feather, right? Invent1, Zinabox, Espresso Lite 2.0, Phoenix, Node MCU 0.9, and we will be using this part, right? This is the main file which we want, or the main board which we want. So we will be using the Node MCU 1.0 ESP12 module. Okay, we are using the 12 version of the ESP. Then this all files are there inside that, all the boards, Olimex, SparkFun, Lolin, and all, right? So you have multiple boards in this. So this multiple boards will be downloaded to your Arduino IDE. So before using your ESP12 or before using any other board, any board which is not included in the Arduino, you have to add the link to it, okay, to the board manager. So after adding the link, the packages will start downloading. Once the packages are downloaded, they will be set up, okay. So I'll show you the link where it is set up, okay, the file location. Just so now here you can see that the files are downloaded in this path, right, in your Arduino, right, Arduino data. So here you can see that there are two packages which are downloaded, right, the ESP32 package and the ESP8266 package. That is the two links which we had used will download these packages, okay. And in these packages there will be the hardware and the tools, okay, which are required. There are the boards, the platform, the programmers, libraries, etc., which are required for coding, right? So in this also we will have similar things, right? The hardware and the tools required, okay. So see here you can see that Python 3 is also available here. So you can use Python for coding also. Mostly when you develop a system, right, you will develop it in Python, right, for the product purpose. But when you are creating a project, right, a small project or a project for your BE and all, it will be written in it will be written in embedded C. So once this is done, then you will get the boards in this part, right, in the boards manager. So what you have to do is when you add the link to it, right, when you add this thing, right, in the additional board manager, they will not be directly downloaded. You have to search for the board, right? So searching for the boards is from here. You will go to the boards manager, right? Then here something will happen, that is it is checking for updates and all, right? What all things are there and what all things are not there, right? Here you can see that it is showing installed. For example, if I want to download ESP32 board from here, so I'll check for ESP32, right? Here you can see that installed. But for you, when you are doing it for the first time, here it will not show installed, okay? So you have to select the version from here. So there are multiple versions present here, 1.0.0, 1, 2, 3. And the fourth one I have downloaded, that is 1.0.4, hence it is not showing this. So if I remove this part, then I can download another version. Also, I can select 1.0.3 or the previous versions and install it directly from here. Okay. So every time you install a new board, right, you don't have to do anything. But if you are overwriting a board, right? Overwriting a board means if you are changing the version of the board, it is better you delete the previous version and then install a new version of that board. Okay. So first of all, you have to remove the board from this and then install a previous version or a new version. Okay. So here we have to have ESP8266, right? So this is also installed. The version installed by me is 2.7.2. Here you can see that this all boards are included. Okay, there is an update for this board, but now I'm not going to update because the server speed for this board is very slow, right? So it will take more time. So we are not upgrading it. We will be using the 2.7.2 version now. So let us start with the coding. See, here you can see that it is not colored, right? That means the board is not selected properly. Here we can see that Arduino Uno is selected right now. So first of all, we'll change the board. We'll go to the board, right? Then in ESP8266, we will navigate to our Node MCU 1.0, that is ESP12 module. Okay. So now we will be clicking on this thing. Now here you can see that the board will be selected in few seconds or few minutes. Okay. It will take some time. Okay. So the board has been changed. That is the Node MCU 1.0 ESP12 module, right? So here we can see that multiple options have appeared after we have selected the board. Okay. So here you need to make some changes. If your upload speed is less than 115200, you have to change it to 115200 because the upload speed will remain 115200 for the ESP12 module. Okay. The CPU frequency will be at 80 megahertz. The flash size will be 4 MB, right? Over the air, it will be 1019 KB, right? Then the debug port will be disabled. Debug level will be none. Okay. So these are all the default settings for the Node MCU 1.0 board. Now here you can see that the port option is not visible now. This is because I have not connected the board to my laptop. Right? When I connect the board to my laptop, then this option will be visible. Okay. So the board can be connected by a normal USB charger, okay, or a normal USB. So give me 1 minute. I'll connect the board to it first. Till then, if anyone has questions, then they can ask questions in the chat box, or they can unmute themselves and ask the questions. If anyone has questions till now, then they can ask the questions. Okay, so I'm assuming that there are no questions yet. So I have connected the board to the laptop, right, using a normal USB, right. So here we can see that the port option is visible, and till yesterday the Arduino was being used on the COM6 port, right. Now the COM port has changed, right. The COM port is now COM22. Okay, so we will be selecting this COM port. So now here we can see that the port has been changed to COM22, right, and the board also has been changed to Node MCU 1.0, that is ESP12 module. Okay, so see, this library is now colored, right, the text is in color, so we can consider that this library has been added. Okay, so that's all for the no, we have 2 lines more there. Okay. So after hash include, we will be declaring a string. Say the name is I, and since we are using it as a server, so we are defining it as Wi-Fi server, and the name will be server 80. So this needs to be added in default. Okay, you have to add this line if you want to use it as a Wi-Fi server, right? You can also view the examples for this code from here, right? Here you have multiple examples for ESP8266, right? ESP8266 AVR, ISP, and all. So there are multiple examples which are present, which you can use or which you can set afterwards. Yes, Anjan. Okay. So once that is done, we will now move to the void setup part, right? So here we need to have multiple things. So first of all, we will write I is equal to the same. Okay. So what we are doing is that we are making it empty. This variable we are making it empty, or we are removing the garbage value from that I variable while setup part. Okay. Then we will define the pin mode. Okay. The pin modes will be, see, in pin mode you define your pin, right? What type of functionality will the pin do? So here what we are doing is we are using the pin number. Yeah. Okay, so we are using the pin number D0 and D1. Okay, so you can define it as D0 and D1 also, or you can define it as 16 and 5. So we will be using this mode, right? The GPIO pins. So we are defining at 16 and 5. So here we will write pin number 16, that is the D0 pin, will be my output pin because it is a relay, right? And relay is an output device. So here also we will write pin mode 5, comma, output. Okay. So we have defined our relay pins or the digital pins as output pin, right? For example, if you are using a sensor, you have to define this pins as input pin. 16 stands for D0 while 5 stands for D1. Okay, so you can alternatively use D0 and D1 also, or you can use 16 and 5 also. Sorry. So now we will define the initial state of this pin, right? The initial state of this pins will be high and high. Okay. So yesterday we saw that high was off and low was on, right? So we are using the same relay module, hence here also high will be off and low will be on. Okay. So the type we are using, the type of relay which we are using is high is equal to off, while low means on. Okay. So first of all, we have declared this pin as high, right? Both the pins. So both the relay will be off initially. Now what we are going to do is we are going to see everything that is taking place in the relay on the serial monitor, right? So we need to enable the serial communication of the board. So this can be done by using serial.begin, right? Here you can use any baud rate, like here it had 115200, so you can use that baud rate also, or else you can use another baud rate also. So for, we will use the 9600 baud rate, right, which we had used earlier also for Arduino Uno. Okay. Then I am writing here Wi-Fi disconnect function. First of all, we will write the setup part again. Okay. Please change the pin mode to digital write for relay off. Sir, can you elaborate this question? Because I am not getting what you want to say.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
So please can you elaborate?
Sir,
Hello, sir.
pin mode only for to set the pin for input or output.
Okay.
It's correct, but we need to turn on or turn off by using the digital, right? It's clear?
Yeah, sir. We can do it by digital write also, or else you can do it by pin mode also.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So sir was telling that here we can use the digital write statement also, right? So for digital write, we will be defining this as digital write. We will be using this, okay? Digital write 16 comma high and digital write 16 comma low. Five comma high. Sorry. This is digital write 16 comma high and digital write 5 comma high. So now we will have a delay of 3 seconds here, so that everything is set up properly, right? You need to give some time for setting up the Wi-Fi and all. Okay. Then what we will write is serial dot print ln start. Okay. So I am writing this statement here because I want to see whether my device has started communicating or not. You can skip this line, right? But I am writing this line in order to see that whether my device has started communicating with my laptop or not. Okay. So after that, I'll write Wi-Fi dot begin. And then I'll write my credentials in this. Okay. So first here, you have to specify your hotspot name or your router name, right? Access point name. So my access point name is Smart Light. Okay. And my password is also Smart Light. So I have defined my access point name, that is my SSID name, right? And the password for this. Okay. So what it will do is it will connect to your phone, right? Even if there is no internet, it will connect to your phone and it can be operated. Okay. So if you have internet, internet will not be used. If you don't have internet, then also it is okay because it is a local server application. So Wi-Fi.begin will connect your device to the specified Wi-Fi SSID. Okay. So next will be a while loop, right? In order to check whether the device is connected to your Wi-Fi or not. So it may happen that you have specified access point name which is not available, or if your access point is not on, then it will check whether the device has been connected or not. If the device is not connected, it will print some dots, right, till the device is connected. So we have to write that first. So we will be writing it as if Wi-Fi, right, Wi-Fi status, Wi-Fi dot status, okay, bracket is equal to WL connected. Okay. Then what it will do is have a delay of 300 millisecond here, and then it will keep on printing some dots here. Serial print dot. Next, what we are writing here is serial dot println in bracket will write connected. Then we'll copy this thing again Here we will write something like this. Your IP is, or you have been allocated with this IP. You can write anything here. Okay. Then we will write the IP which is allocated. Okay. We will print the IP which is allocated. So this can be done by using this thing, this Wi-Fi dot local IP dot toString and then we will begin the server. So server dot begin. This is the function. Okay. So we have completed writing our setup part. Now I'll explain this part. So I had explained it till here, right? Till the smart light part. Now here you can see that while, right? While not connected. The meaning for this is while the status is not connected. That is Wi-Fi dot status is equal to WL connected, right? This means that it is connected. Okay. And when you use this exclamation mark, that means it is not connected. Okay. So while the device is not connected to your Wi-Fi, which you have specified here, right? Till then, what it will do is it will have a delay of 300 milliseconds, that is 0.3 seconds, and after every 0.3 second, what it will print is 3 dots. Okay. Here you can write anything that is not connected, not connected, not connected. Okay. So this loop will continue till the device is connected, right? Once the device is connected, what it will do is it will come out of this loop, right? It will come out of this while loop and print connected. Okay, here you can write that your device is connected and your IP is okay. So what I have to do is I want the IP of the device from the serial monitor or from the device. Okay, so I'm printing this IP, right? For that you have to use this function, that is the Wi-Fi local IP toString. That means it is printed as a string on the serial monitor. Okay, any doubts regarding this? And then I'm starting the server. Okay, this is for starting your server. So here we had seen that for starting your serial monitor or the serial communication, we were using serial.begin. For starting your Wi-Fi, we were using Wi-Fi.begin, and for starting the server, we will be using server.begin. So if you have any doubts in this part, that is the setup part, because this setup part is completely different from what we have done earlier, right? This contains many lines of code. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me your doubts now. Okay. Then we will continue to writing the main code in this. Guys, please ask your doubts, because if it is not clear, then you will face problems when you actually code your upload your code to your devices. Okay. Or when you actually are implementing any project. So please ask your doubts here. The port value 80 can be changed to something else. Yes, you can change the port value, but the default value for the port is 80 in this case. Okay. If you are using a remote server, the port value will definitely change. Okay, more questions, please. Guys, ask questions, because this is something different from the Arduino Uno part, right? The Arduino Uno had a simple code. These codes are not easy, right? There are multiple functionalities going inside this code. Okay, difference between pin mode and digital write. See, pin mode are used to define the type of pin, right? Input, output pin, or how it will function, right? While digital write is actually you are changing the values of the digital pin. That means you are supplying a logic 0 or logic high, right? Means you are giving a logic low or logic high to your pin in order to perform some action, right? So that are the commands that you are giving: digital write, digital read, and analog write and analog read. Okay. More questions, please, guys. Okay, someone is asking that purpose of line 14. Purpose of line 14. Wi-Fi dot disconnect. See, if the Wi-Fi is disconnected here, right, it will some values that are defined in this function. That is the reason why I'm using this Wi-Fi.disconnect. The other reason is if your device is connected previously to any other access point, then first you need to disconnect the Wi-Fi, right? Because the data will be stored in the SPI okay, memory. So what you have to do is, first of all, you have to disconnect the device from the Wi-Fi which it was previously connected. So I am using this line. Then it will be connected to the new Wi-Fi. Then someone is asking, can you explain the while loop again? Yes, I'll explain the while loop again. And why did you change from pin mode to digital mode? See, I'm writing it to high, right? Writing it high because I want to switch off both the supplies. So I'm writing here digital right. Here you can use pin mode also, but pin mode will not do the proper thing. Hence I changed it to digital right, as Sir said. Okay, so I'm changing this to digital right here. So I'll explain the while loop again, as Puneet said that he wants the while loop explanation again. So here we can see that from pin line number 18 to 22 is the while loop. So here what it is doing is, see, we have to check whether the device is connected to the Wi-Fi or not. Here I am giving the credentials of the Wi-Fi to which it has to be connected. So it will take some time to connect. Okay, it will not connect instantaneously, right? When you switch on your mobile's Wi-Fi, right, it doesn't connect instantaneously. It requires some delay. Okay, so to provide that delay, I am using this while loop, right? Other thing that I am doing here is, for example, if you are giving credentials of a router or of a device which is not available, then you need to know whether it is connected or not. For example, if you have a router at home, right, and it is switched off, so your device should say that it is switched off or it is not connected, right? That is the reason why I'm using this while loop. Okay, so here we can see that the Wi-Fi dot status is equal to connected. That means it has connected. And when we are using this thing, that is the exclamation mark, this means that when the Wi-Fi is not connected, okay, because if the value of this is 1, right, when you use the exclamation mark, the value will become 0, okay, negation of that. So that means if the Wi-Fi is not connected, till that time what it has to do is give a delay of 0.3 seconds and keep on printing this part. Okay, when we will run the code, you will come to know much better, right? Because it will be printed for several times till it is connected, and once it is connected, this while loop will stop executing. That is, the program will come out of this while loop and start printing this thing. Okay, so when it is connected, it will print the statement connected and it will print your IP address. See, someone is asking that, can you explain what is port value? See, for communication, you require ports. Okay, if you are not specifying port, then how will the system know that what type of communication you are using, right? So here we are using a serial communication, hence we are defining the port as to be 80. Okay, so ports are required, right, for communication purpose. For example, they are the endpoints, right? Endpoint of communication. If the ports are connected, then only the communication can take place. If the ports aren't connected, or if you are not specifying the port, then communication will not take place within devices. Okay, so someone is asking that, can we say that ESP is a replacement of Arduino? Exactly. See, ESP is a replacement of Arduino, right? It is a better replacement of Arduino because it will have more functionalities as compared to the Arduino, right? It has a Wi-Fi capability, right? You can also add a Bluetooth device to it. You can use ESP32, right, which has an inbuilt Wi-Fi and Bluetooth to it, right? So it is better to use a ESP module instead of using a Arduino, right? So that you can have, right? For example, if you are developing a system which requires only Bluetooth as of now, right? If you are developing a system which only requires Bluetooth as of now, but in future, right, if in future you want to have a Wi-Fi compatibility also, then better to use a ESP32 instead of using ESP20, right? So as per your requirement, you can use the board. The coding will remain the same for Arduino as well as ESP32 as well as ESP20, right? But only the coding will remain same if you are coding it in embedded C, right? If you are coding it in a MicroPython, the coding will change. Sorry, Amish, what's the value in Wi-Fi.begin represent? Okay. See, Wi-Fi.begin represents the connection which needs to be established with your access point or your router, right? So here what we are giving is the syntax for this is Wi-Fi.begin, right? Here comes your SSID, that is your router's name or your hotspot name or your access point name, and here comes your password. Okay, so my SSID is SmartLight and my password is SmartLight, and hence I am using SmartLight in both the cases, right? If your SSID is, for example, a TP-Link router, and your password is say 12345678, so you will specify that here. Okay, is it clear, Rahul?
Sir,
Okay.
if we do not have a password then
If
in
you
our
don't have a
router?
password, then leave that blank. Leave that blank.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, welcome. So we will continue to the loop part now. If anyone has a doubt, you can ask. Okay, so we will continue to the loop part now. So I'll remove this part from here and start writing the code. So first of all, I'll write the code for the Wi-Fi client. Wi-Fi client client is equal to server dot available. Okay. Yes. Client first of all, we will write the code here. Then I'll explain every part of that. Right. You can note down the code. Okay, so this is the complete code which we are going to use here. So we will start with the void loop part now. So first of all, what we are doing here is we are creating a client, right? If the server is available, so only if the server is available, then a client is created, right? If a client is not created, it doesn't return anything. If a client is created, it will return something, right? But here we don't want if the client is created or not, right? There can be multiple clients. For example, if there is a single device in your house, right? But there can be multiple users. So we are not checking how many users are there. So we are not writing here anything. Okay. For example, if you have 3 or 4 members in your house and all have access to that device, so we can also count the number of users, or we can also restrict the number of users which can connect to this device. So all that thing can be written here, right? If you want specific devices that needs to be connected, then also you can have the settings in that, but it will require a long code, right? We are not taking it now. So here comes the part for the client purpose. Okay, when the client is available, it is checking that if the client is available or not, because the device will switch on, right? The device is switched on every time, but when the client is available, it comes out of the dip sleep mode. When the client isn't available, it goes in the dip sleep mode in order to consume less power, right? It will save your power of the device. Okay, so this thing is for that purpose, right? Then here what we are doing is we are reading the string, right, until a carriage return, right? This is a carriage return character, okay, /r. So we are reading the string till a /r. That means when we are sending a command to this server, right, we will be storing in this string, right? We have declared a string I, right, which was an empty string. Now we will be storing the data to this string, okay. Now we have to store this data because we need to remove some characters which are not required. For example, there are characters such as the IP address and all, right? Your command will be like this. I'll show you the command type of command which we give to this. For example, your IP is say 192.168.4.1, right? And your command is actually A1, right? So only this part is required, right? This part is not required. So what we will do is we will remove this part, right? So for this purpose, we are using this statement. Okay. So we are changing the content of I as per our requirement, right? Once the value of I is changed, right? Once we get the desired value, then we will use the if statement, right? Then we will use the if statement to change the values of the relay. So, for example, we have taken A1, A101, A2, and A102. Okay. So here in this, in our case, A1 will be switch on relay 1. Okay. Meaning of A1 is switch on relay 1, right? And for switching on relay 1, we have to give a low logic, right? To pin number, the pin numbers which we have used is 16 and 5, right? 16 for the first relay and 5 for the second relay. Okay. So we have to play with this thing, right? So I am removing this thing from here. So A1 will be switch on relay 1. That means we have to give a low to pin number 16. Pin 16. Pin 16 is your GPIO pin, right? Or else you can also write it as low to pin GPIO 16 or D0. Okay. Similarly, A101 will be this thing only, but in this case it will be switch off relay 1, that is off means high. Okay, so we will be providing here high logic to pin number 16 or D0. Okay, for the second case, that is for the second relay, we will be using A2, right? So I'll copy this thing and paste it here. So meaning of A2 is switch on relay 2, and switch on means the low to pin GPI of 5, right? D1 is GPI of 5, so we are writing that. And A102 is switch off relay 2, high to pin GPI of 5 or D1. Okay, so this is the thing which we have to write in the code form, right? We have to write the code for this, right? Here you can use anything. I'm using A1, A101, A2, A102. Here you can also write switch on relay 1, switch off relay 1, okay? Switch on relay 2, switch off relay 2. You can write anything you want, or you can give A, B, C, D also. Here you can write A, here you can write B, here you can write C, here you can write D. Okay, that depends completely on you, what you want to write. But in our example, we are using A1 and A101. A2 and A102. So we are writing if statement for that. So if the value inside if the value inside I is A1, right? So what it will do is it will write low to pin number 16, and in our case, low means the relay is switched on. Okay. Similarly, if you write A101, then it will be high, right? A101 means high to pin number 16. Okay. So if you write high to it, then what will happen is the relay 1 will switch off. And similarly for relay 2, I is equal to A2, right? A2 means switching on relay 2, while A102 means switching on relay, switching off relay 2. Okay. So hope you have understood this logic which we are used here. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can ask me, right? If there are more number of relays, you can define more number of pins here. Okay, so here you can define more number of pins. For example, if you have more than 2 relays, okay, if you have more than 2 relays, you can add the pins for that relay. Here you can add the digital write statement for that relay. And here you have to specify if functionalities for each relay, right? If loop for each relay. Okay, someone is asking, sir, can you explain the line number 41 and 42? Okay, I dot remove 0, 5, right? So we are using this in order to alter our statement, right? In order to alter our command. Okay, so command that will be we will be giving is these are the 4 commands which we will be giving. Right, our IP, right, slash A1, IP slash A101, IP slash A2, and IP slash A102. Okay, so these are the 4 commands which we are giving, right, in our case. But the server or the device only needs to read this, right? This is for communication purpose. For example, if you are giving the wrong IP, then the that device will switch on or switch off. Okay, so we are using this IP for communicating with our specific device. Okay, so once the communication is done, we don't want this part, right? So hence we are altering our I value of I, right? Right, so we are removing this thing, and then in I the only thing that remains is A1 or A101 or A2 or A102. Okay, I'll show it in the video part that what happens when you do this. Okay, so that's all for the code for the local server. This is a big code as compared to all the codes which we have done, right? For creating a device, for creating an IoT, the code will increase, right? Because you have multiple functionalities in that. So anyone else who wants to ask doubt regarding this code? Okay, no one wants to ask questions regarding this. So what we will do is we will run this code, right? We will verify this code first. So first of all, we'll click on verify. It will ask us to save this code. Okay, so I'm saving it as local IP test. Okay, you can name it any way you want. Okay. So here you can see that the code has started compiling, right? And if something is wrong in the code, we will get the error message in this part. Okay, if nothing is wrong, then it will show done compiling. Okay, someone is asking that how to define an IP for each device. Okay, so see, if you want to have multiple devices at your home and you want a specific IP, so you can do it inside the code also, right? For example, you can set a local IP. You cannot set a remote IP because your router will be having a dynamic IP, right? In case of business routers, right? If you have a business plan, then your IP will be a static IP, right? But if your IP is changing every time, then you cannot define a static IP for each device because the IP will also change. For example, if your device has a IP say 192.168.1.0 or 0.1 anything, so the number will change for each device, right? So in that case, you need to have a static device, or else you have to define a code where it will be sending IP every time it changes its IP, right? For example, if the IP was say 192.168.143.22, right? After some time, that is after your timeout time, right? After every 120 minutes, which is the default value for each router, it will change its IP. Then when it changes its IP, it should specify the IP, or it should send the IP before changing. Okay, so you have to have a big code for that. You can also give multiple IPs, right? For example, you can give multiple IPs to a single device. If any of that IP is present, that is, if any of this IP is available, then it will take that IP. For example, if you are defining your IPs as 192.168.43.1, 43.2, and 43.3, then any available IP can be taken by that device, right? The device will first check whether .1 is available. If .1 is not available, it will go to .2. If .2 is not available, it will go to .3, right? If any IP is available, then it will take that IP. So you can define in that way. Okay, Soham is asking that to communicate with each device, you need to have a unique IP for each device. Yes, absolutely, you have to have a unique IP, right? Whenever it connects to your system, it will automatically take an IP from that. Okay, so the router or the device or the hotspot which you are using will automatically allocate a IP to that device. Okay, so it will be ranging the fourth part, that is the D part, will be ranging from 0 to 255 in each case. The first three parts, that is A dot B dot C, will remain same. Only the part that will change, that is the D part. Okay, your IPs are like this, right? Your IPs are 0.0.0.0 to something like 255.255.255.255. Okay. So what will change is only the last part will change, right? This part will change. For example, you have the IP for your devices is 168.43.1, right? The router will take the first IP address, that is 0 or 1, right? Every time the router or the device which creates a hotspot takes the first IP, right? Then it will start allocating it from 2 to 192.168.43.255. Mostly 255 is also reserved, so it will be up to 254, right? So the IP that will be allocated will be in this range. Okay. For example, you have 3 to 4 devices, then this part will remain same. Okay. Only the part that will change is the D part, that is from 2 to 254. What is the bridge used for? Which bridge are you talking about? Because I haven't discussed about any bridge here. Okay, our code has done compiling. Here we can see that the code has been compiled. I'll increase this size. Okay, so here we can see that the code has compiled. See, there are multiple memories here, right? IROM, IRAM, data, right? RO data, BSS. Now you don't need to take this into consideration because we have to see whether the code is done compiling perfectly or not, or if there are any errors. If there are any errors, we have to rectify that error, and then only we can upload it to our board. Okay, so our code doesn't have any error, hence we can now upload this code, right? Okay, Soham is asking a question that in Philips slide there is some sort of bridge which is required to communicate with the device. Okay, see, in that case, what you are using is a hub, not a bridge, right? That is a hub device which is used. For example, as you said, Philips lights or the MI devices, right? Some devices do not have Wi-Fi compatibility in that. Okay. For example, your phone has a Wi-Fi and the device also has a Wi-Fi. Then they can directly communicate with each other. Okay. But for example, if your device doesn't have a Wi-Fi, it only has a Bluetooth in it. So what you can do is you can use a hub. For example, an Amazon Alexa, right? Or a Google Home Assistant can also be used as a hub. That means your phone will be connected to the Google Assistant or the Amazon Alexa through Wi-Fi, and then the device will be connected through the Bluetooth. Okay. So what you are doing is first you are commanding the Amazon Alexa to do something, and that will in turn command or send that command to the device. Okay. So in that case we are using the hub. So what will happen here is, for example, if you use multiple devices without a hub, it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to manage all the devices, right? But if you are using a hub, then multiple devices can be managed easily at a single point. Upload this code now, right? It has done compiling. So here we can see that how it uploads the code to the board. So we are clicking on the upload button now. Okay, so here you can see that the code is started uploading, right? And this is writing at memory. It is showing the memory at which it is being written. Here you can see the percentage, that is 46, 53, 61. Okay, it will go up to 100 and then it will stop. The code has been uploaded, right? Here it shows that the code has been written in just 18.4 seconds, and the effective rate was 121.8 kilobit per second. Okay. Here you can see that the compressed memory size, auto-detected flash size was 4 MB. That is the size, the flash memory size of our device, right? And this is the MAC address of our device. So each device will have a different MAC address, as you all know, right? Then here we can see that the features available, that is Wi-Fi, right? But the most important thing which we will see here is, see, the data was being written, or the code was being written through serial communication. So we require the serial port that needs to be defined. If you are not giving the serial port properly, then no data will be returned to your board. Okay. So our board was connected to COM22, hence it has started COM22, it has connected to COM22, then it displayed the type of device which you have, right? And then it uploaded the code. After uploading the code, it verified, hash verified the data. That means proper code was uploaded or not. It verified that thing, and then it showed that it is bringing the part, right? And then it hard resetting took place via the RTS pin. That means a reset took place after the code was uploaded. Okay. So reset needs to be done after every code upload. That is done automatically by the system. And the tool which was used for coding was ESP-tool.py, which I had shown earlier. That I had said that ESP tool will be required for uploading or uploading the firmware or uploading the uploading any code. Okay. So ESP tool was used here. So the code has been uploaded to our device. Now we will check what output it shows. Okay, so we will see the pre-recorded video for this. So now here you can see that we have a relay module here. Okay, we have a relay module. Then we have the node MCU here, right? This is the USB cable which I am using for programming. You can see that it is a normal USB cable which we use for charging our phones, right? It is not a Type-C cable. And we have the 4 jumpers here, right? We are using female to male jumpers because we are implementing on a breadboard. You may not use a breadboard. You can directly also connect to this because it has male pins here. Okay, here you have the male pins, and here also you have the male pins. So in that case, you have to use female to female header. But now here we are using the breadboard, hence we are using the female to male header. Okay, sorry, female to male wire. Okay, jumper wire. So after the connection is done according to our circuit diagram, here we can see that the connection is done. So what happens when you start the serial monitor? Now here you can see that. See, when I start the serial monitor, here it will show that start, and you can see that the dots are increasing. That means the number of dots will represent the time that is required, because after every 300 milliseconds, 2 dots were being printed, right? In my case, I had written 3 dots. So after every 300 milliseconds, 2 dots were being printed. So the number of dots represent that that was the time which was required to initialize the system. Okay. So again, I'll play this thing. See, so it is printing start and dot 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 dot. Okay. So then it printed connected. Okay. And then it gave me an IP. So your IP is 192.168.43.128. So this is the IP which is allocated to my device. Okay. So I'll show you what happens when there is a no router present. Okay. So that we will see live. Just a second. So here is the device, right? We have uploaded the code to it, and now we can see that we should have a router named SmartLight. Okay, but my router is not switched on now. So we will see what happens when a router is not switched on or a router is not available. So we'll start the serial monitor. Here you can see that it has started connecting, right? And it is going on. Okay, so it is not being connected. You can see that it is scrolling automatically. So this is the reason why I require a while loop here. Okay, so I should come to know whether the device is connected or not. Okay, so now what I will do is I'll switch on my router, that is my mobile hotspot, right? This is the name of my mobile hotspot and this is the password. Okay, so what I will do is I'll switch on this thing. Now we will again go to the serial monitor, and now we can see that, see, it is connected and the IP is similar, 192.168.43.128. Okay, so my IP hasn't changed, but it can also change. Okay, don't consider that it will not change always, it can change. So now it is showing that it is connected to 192.168.43.128. If you want to see my IP, if you want to see your phone's IP, it will be something like 192.168.43.0 or 43.1. Okay. Hence, this password will remain same, the first 3 parts, and this has changed. Okay, depending upon the device. Okay. So this is connected. Now we will see the video again. So this is the same video which I had played earlier. So I have got the IP here. Okay, here also I am getting the same IP. See, so I have got the IP as 192.168.43.128. So I am using my mobile to switch on, switch off this device. Okay. Okay, now you can see that what I have written is 192.168.43.128. Okay, and you can see that this both the red lights are on. That means both the relays are on initially, right? But now for the code which we have written now, right? In the initial case, both the LEDs will be switched off because we had written low to it. Okay. So now what I am writing is slash A101, right? I am writing slash A101 because my device is initially on, so I have to switch off my relay 1. So hence I am writing A101 there. So see what will be the output. Here you can see that I have pointed it with a pen that this LED is on. That means this relay is on. I am switching off this relay. So we will browse this. Now you can see that relay has switched off. Okay. By using this A101 thing, the relay has switched off. Okay. So now we will switch off the relay 2 also. Now we are switching off the relay 2 here. So what I am doing is I am writing this part again 192.168.43.128, and then I write A102 because I have to switch off my relay 2. So here you can see that I have to switch off my relay 2, hence I am writing A102 here. So it has switched off. Okay. Now if I want to switch on the relay 1, I will be writing A1. Okay, so I have written here A1. Now here you can see that I have written A1. So the first relay will switch on, and if I write A2 there, after I write A2 there, then the second relay will switch on. So here you can see that the second relay will switch on now. So it has switched on. Okay. So this was with a minimum interface, right? It doesn't have any user interface. We are using a Chrome browser here. You can use any browser to navigate to that page and switch on or switch off this, right? But you can also have a UI in this case. For example, for switching on relay 1, you can have a button or a slider button, right? For switching on or switching off of relay 2, you can have a button for that too, right? For example, if you are monitoring any device, right? So you can have gauges there, right? Or you can have a slider switch. Okay. So you can have multiple user interfaces, buttons, or all that. In that case, right? You can have a user interface for that too. Only thing is that we are hosting this on a local server, right? Local server, that is the server of the Wi-Fi, of the ESP12E. Hence, you have to write the code in HTML, right? HTML. So you need to have a prior knowledge of HTML in that case to design a UI. Okay. So this was the thing for local server. Now in the next part, we will be seeing the remote server. So first of all, we'll see that what we have to do in the remote server part. So here is the problem statement for the remote server. Okay. Controlling a 2-channel relay module using a ESP12E over link remote server. Switching off two, that is a simplified statement, will be switching off 2-channel relay module using link remote server for above application. So both the applications are same. Just the thing is here we were using local server, so it can be accessed only at your home. For example, if you are at your home, it can be only accessed from your home. You cannot access it from anywhere. Okay. But in this case, you can access it from anywhere. For example, if you are in Andheri and you are accessing your device at Palghar, that can be done too. Okay. From anywhere you can access your device. So we will be building that. So first of all, we will make the circuit diagram for this. So the circuit diagram will remain the same, right? Because we are using a 2-channel relay module. So this will be the same part, right? The connections will also be same. Only thing that will change is our code. Okay. So the code will not be such big code because we have a Blink library, right? If you have an inbuilt library, then the code will be short. If you don't have an inbuilt library, then the code will become big. Okay. So we will write the code for that. So we are using the same pins, that is the D0, D1, that is 16,15. But here we don't need to specify the pins. I'll tell you why we are not specifying any pins here. Okay. So what we will do here is, first of all, we will go to Arduino, create a new file. Okay, and we'll start writing our code for the remote server now. All what will write is our preprocessing lines, that is has defined. We are defining here something. Okay, this is the first time we are defining something. So the syntax will be has defined blink print serial. Okay. Then we will be writing the same library which we had used earlier. That is, we are including the library hash include, right, ESP8266 Wi-Fi .h. Okay, and since we are using the Blink platform, okay, so we need to have the library. If you are not including the library, then the code will not work. So we are including the Blink library also. This can be done by writing the hash include statement with Blink simple ESP8266. Okay, Blink simple ESP8266.h. So we have included both the libraries which are required, right? If you don't use this library, you won't be able to communicate with your Blink server. If you don't use this library, then you won't be able to use your Wi-Fi communication. Okay. So we have defined this thing here. Okay, and this thing is defined in order to say that the Blink device will communicate over serial communication. Okay. So now we'll go to the authentication part, right? As in the earlier case, I had given my SSID and password, right? My router's SSID and password. In this case, we need to have one extra thing, that is the authentication token of the Blink, right? Because Blink is a server where multiple users can use that service, right? So you need to have a unique authentication code from the Blink, right? So that you need to have from the Blink application, right? You can go to your Blink application. You have to set up your device. That is, you have to sign up. That we will see in the video. Okay, how you have to sign up and all. So from there you will get the code. So first of all, we will write only the body of the code. Then we will add the authentication token to it. Okay. So I am writing here, and I am keeping this empty. Next part, I said that we will be having the SSID and password too. Okay, so I'm writing my SSID separately. See, in the previous code we had not defined any SSID or password, right? We had directly written it into our code. Now I'm defining it in a character. Okay, so I'm writing it here, char SSID and char pass, right? It is an array, right? So I'm keeping my SSID and password same because I'm using the same same router. Okay. Hello guys, am I audible? Hello. Okay, okay. Thank you. So we will write our SSID here, right? And the password will be same, Smart Light, right? It depends completely on the router which you are using, right? The access point name and the password of that SSID. Okay. So this is the thing which we have written, right? Only the authentication token we will get from the Blink app, that we will include here afterwards. Okay. So what I'll do is remove this part and then write my setup code. So the only thing that I have to write here is serial dot begin 9600. Okay, and Blink dot begin AUTH, that is the authentication token, right? SSID, that is my router's name or the hotspot name, and the pass. Okay, so what you can do is alternatively you can directly write your Smart Light here and password here, authentication here, or else you can define it here. Okay, so if you are not defining at this place, then you can directly write it here. If you are defining it, then you have to give the names where it has been defined, that is the namespace of where it has been defined. Okay, that's it for the setup part. Now what we will do is we will write the main code for this. I'll delete the comment from here and I'll start writing the code, and the code for this will be blink.run. Okay, that's it. So we have written the code for the server part, for the remote server part. Okay, nothing else needs to be written here. Great. So the code is very small because we are using the library Blink server, right, for the Blink server. So the code becomes very small because all the things that needs to be done are already done here in this function. Okay, so we need not write more code here. This is the complete code for the remote server part, right? Now you can control your devices from anywhere in the world. Now the only thing which is left here is our authentication token. Okay, so we will add our authentication token here afterwards. We will just compile the code. The code will not give any errors because everything is complete, right? Your authentication code can be empty, right? So we will compile this code and we will check whether the code is being compiled or not, or it has some errors. Okay, Amod is asking like Philips Hue. Right, perfectly. It also has two types of bulbs, right? It has a Bluetooth bulb also and a Wi-Fi bulb also, right? The Bluetooth can be used inside the house, right? From inside the house. And if you want to switch on your bulb from anywhere in the world, then you have to use the Wi-Fi one, right? So that's the code for your device, right? Now you can start making your home automation device at your home, right? You can automate your devices in your bedroom or your room, right? And then you can show it to your parents that we have started designing something new. Okay, how to secure the network? See, you don't have to do anything because the libraries are made in such a way that they are already secure, right? If you want to secure it more, for example, we are building a server of our own, which is similar to a ThinkSpeak server or a Blink server, right? In that case, what we are doing is we are making it secured by using hash algorithms, and different types of keys are used, right? We will be providing our users with read and write API keys, right? That read and write API keys will only be known to our customers, right? And that will be unique for everyone. So we are using a 128-bit AES encryption there. So the system will automatically become secure for you because the Blink has done all that thing. So you don't have to take into consideration the security when you are designing it using Blink. Okay. It completely depends that which server you are using. If you are using your own server, then you need to have some security steps in that, right? For example, you can define a REST API where the REST API will develop a read and write API key for you. For example, the read and write API key is always unique, right? So only you can access the device. So in our case, like I said, that we are designing a server, right? Which will be similar to a ThinkSpeak or the node similar to the Blink server, right? So in that case, what we are doing is we are providing our users with read and write API key, which are unique for every user. And these keys are these keys are generated using your credentials, right? For example, your username or your username or your email ID, and that will be unique for every device, right? So it takes your device name, your username, etc. for creating the keys, right? They will not take your passwords and all, right? Passwords are stored very securely, right? So only the username or the email ID, that is what we can use for creating our read and write API key. Okay, so the system will be secure in that case. Okay, here the authentication is key which we are using is similar to the read and write API key combination. Okay, so here only one key is used for reading and writing. In our case, there will be two keys, that is the read API key and write API key. So the code has been compiled. Okay, so I'll upload this code to my board first. So it will take some time, 1 to 2 minutes to upload the code. Let's check. See, when you verify your code, it will compile, okay, and it will check for errors. Again, when you upload the code, it will recompile the code, okay. Even if you have compiled it earlier, it will again compile the code and then upload it. The code has been completed uploading. So now we will see. So it took 18.5 seconds to upload the code, and the effective speed was 122.2 kilobits per second. Okay. This remains the same. The MAC address will remain the same. The MAC address doesn't change, right? Also, your device ID will not change. For example, if you purchase a device, ESP device, right? So it will have a unique ID always, right? And that unique ID will be some sort of a alphanumeric number, right? Alphanumeric key, sorry. So you will have a device ID also, which you can use to differentiate your devices at home. So there are multiple things how you can differentiate that how the which device will be communicated. Okay. So once we have uploaded the code, now we will see the pre-recorded video first. The connections are same for this case also, right? The connections are same as the previous one. So see, this is the Blink platform, right? Here you can see that the login and create new account options are available. You can also log in with your Facebook, right? So here the security comes according to your Gmail account or the account which you use. If you are logging in with Facebook, so the Facebook credentials will be only with you. So no one can access your app, right? So here the security concerns are gone. So next step will be I'm creating a new account here. Okay. So I have pressed on create a new account. So it is asking me for an email and password, right? So I'm using an email here. Okay, this is some temporary email which I have used, and I have used the password also here. So the password is covered using asterisk, right? So once again, I'll show. I've given the password here. Now what it will do is it will connect to its server and create an account. Once the account is created, see, it is asking me whether to save a Google password or not, right? Each widget needs energy to operate. When you delete a widget, energy is returned. That means this is a paid app, right? This is a paid app, but for the first time when you use it, right, or up to a limit, you can use this for free. After some limit, it will charge you, right? So you have a specific energy, right? For example, if you have 10 rupees or 15 rupees, so you can buy only for 15 rupees, right? So similarly here, it has energy, right? Which is the term used here. Okay, so you can use that energy to add widgets. So here you can see that I'm creating a new project, right? The project name I'm entering here. Okay. So I'm writing the project name here, that is remote server. Then I'll get my authentication token, right, or my email ID. So only I will get the authentication token, right? From there I can copy my authentication token, and then I have to paste it in my code. Okay. So once I get the email, I'll paste my authentication token here. Okay. For example, the authentication token will be a very big alphanumeric token with special characters also into it. For example, this is the authentication token which I have. Right, this is a random authentication token, but I'm showing you how the authentication token will look like. It may also have different special characters also. Okay. So just a second, it has closed. Okay, so I have added my authentication token into my code. Now see, you get a blank space here. Okay, so you have to add your widgets into this part, right? This is the setting button, this is the add widget button, and this is the play button. Okay, so when you press the play button, then this app will start working. Okay, first of all, you need to make settings into this app. So these are all the settings which I have done. Right here, you can see that you have 2000 energy, right? For example, this is like you have 2000 rupees, and if you want to purchase this button, then you have to spend your 200 rupees here. Okay. Now in my case, I am using two style buttons, right? Two buttons for communicating with my relays, right? One button for each relay. So there are multiple options which you can use for the user interface. You can see that there are buttons, style buttons. Okay, so I have added a button. I'll show you what two buttons are added. Right now here you can see that multiple things are there. For example, here display, you can add a display, you can add a LED, you can add a gauge, you can add a LCD here. Right, so no need of buying LCDs or displays for checking all these things. Right, you can directly use this displays also. Okay, you can add image, you can add Twitter account and everything to it. Okay, so we have added two buttons to our project. Okay, so see here you can see that I have added two buttons, that is style button. So 600 energy has been used. So here it is showing 1400. So by default for the pre version you have 2000 energy. Okay, out of that I'm using the 600 energy. After you delete this button, this energy will be restored back. Okay, so you can have multiple projects in this. So I am modifying this button, right? So here we saw that we are not writing any code into this, right? In the main code, that is in the loop, we had not written any code, right? Because all the code will be written here. Okay, the code will be coding will be done in the form of a user interface thing, right? So I am writing the name of the device as device 1, that is my relay 1. Okay, I am setting my pin here. So see, here we have opposite logic, right? So first of all, it was 0 and 1. Okay, but since our relays use 1 and 0, that is opposite logic, right? So here I am making it as 1 and 0. See here you can see that again I'll show you. 0 was off. So here I have done that. 1 is off and 0 is on, and I am selecting the pin at which it is connected. So my first relay was connected at GP16, right? GPIO 16. So I have selected that 16 pin number 16, and that the type of pin is digital pin. Okay. Here you can see that the pin selected is GP16, and it is a digital pin. So that is the reason why I have not written all this thing in my code. Okay. So I am selecting this pin as GP16, and I am converting this button into a switch. Okay, because if I use the push button, then what it will do is it will come back, right, and it will change its value. So I am using it as a switch. That means it will stay at the same logic, right? So I have converted it into switch. Then see, I can change the type of buttons. For example, the edges can be rounded, sharp, fill type. So I am using the fill type button, and the style is outline. Before it was solid, I have changed it to outline. So here now you can see that the style of the button has changed. Okay, so the first button has changed. I am making the similar settings for the second button. So we will see. The second relay is the device 2. Okay, the pin is GP5. Okay, so I am selecting the pin GP5 here. So the GP5 is selected. I am reversing the logic 1 0. Okay, I am converting into a switch. Then I am considering the fill edge, and the style will be outline. Okay, you can also change the color of the button. There are various options how you can edit this thing. Okay, so next what I am doing is, see, now I am pressing the play button. So this device has started. Right, now here I can press on off, and that will take simultaneously. Now here, see, we are seeing what happens when you press the button. So initially both the both the relays are switched off. Okay, so the play button is on. That means the remote server is working. It is connected to our to the internet. So what will happen when you press button? When you press button 1, the relay 1 switches on. When you press button 2, the relay to switches on. Okay. For off, it switches off. This one will switch off. Okay. So now you can use your phone from anywhere. For example, if I am at any place and this device is at my home, so I can switch it on and off from any place now because it is connected through remote server. It is a cloud. It is connected through a cloud server by Blink. Okay. So if you have any doubts regarding this part, you can ask. You can also add multiple slider buttons or anything you want here. You can also add LCD as per your requirement. If your project needs a LCD and you want a virtual display on your phone, you can add a LCD here. Okay. So this is a very cool app which you can use for your automation thing. Okay. So if you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask your doubts now. Okay, Anjan is asking, could you explain that logic part again? See, earlier as I showed that the relay which we are using is a reverse logic relay, right? It has a opposite logic, right? For high it is off and for low it is on. Okay. So what I was telling is, for high it is off. That means high is always on. Okay. And for low it is off. That is, low means 0. It is off. So what I am doing here is, I'll play the video again. See. First it was 0 for off and 1 for on. Okay. But in our case it is opposite. For off it is 1. So I am changing the 0 to 1 here, right? That is, for off it is 1, so I am writing 1 here, and for on it is 0, so I am writing 0 there. Okay. Anyone else who wants to ask doubts? Yeah, most welcome, Anjal. If you want to ask any, do we always require internet in mobile for controlling? Yes, you will require internet because the server will not run, your app will not run if there is no internet. Okay. So you always need to have internet, even if your device is beside you, you have to have the internet. Okay, sir, I'll share videos too. More questions that you would like to ask? Okay, so if you're making an IoT device for your project, it will be easy, right? But if you are actually designing a product for any company or for your company or for users, right? So it will be a difficult task because everything is not covered here. So you will think that this IoT is very easy. But if you have a practice or if you have a good hand over IoT, then it will be easier for you. Okay. There are multiple things which we need to take into consideration while designing an IoT device for consumer use. Okay, you cannot ask the consumer. For example, if you want to make a device for your neighbor, okay, so you can't ask for an authentication token from him. So you have to develop everything from scratch, from the server, from the device, everything you have to make it from scratch.
What we have to do is, this is the task. You have to write a code, right? For controlling a 4-channel relay module using ESP32 over a local server, the next thing is that switching a 4-channel relay module, right? The IP can be different, right? IP can be different. Don't consider this IP. But one thing that you need to note is the relay module working will be as follows. That is, high is equal to on and low is equal to off, right? So you have to write a code. So I'll give you 10 minutes time. You just need to make some changes in the previous code which we had done earlier. That is a local server code. You have to make some changes accordingly, right, according to the statement given here, then I'll display the code for that, and you can check your code if it is proper or not. Okay. So for the next 10 minutes, you can write your code, or you can edit the code which I had given earlier. I have edited my code according to the statement which was given, problem statement. If you have completed writing your code, or we can wait for more 2 minutes, and then I'll start explaining the code for that statement. Okay. So this was the statement. So I'll explain the code for this statement, right? This problem statement. So in the next 2 minutes, we will be discussing the code, that what changes have I done in the previous code to make the code similar to make the code as per this problem statement. Okay. Okay. Amod is saying that for relay 16 conditions. What 16 conditions will be there? There will be only 8 conditions, right? Relay 1 switch on, switch off, relay 2 switch on, switch off. Similarly for relay 3 and relay 4. It is not 2 raised to 4. It will be just 2 into 4. Okay, 4 into 2. Each relay will have only 2 states, right? Switch on and switch off. All relays are standalone, right? We are controlling multiple relays right now. We are using multiple relays. 4 relays are there. Okay. So we are controlling multiple relays. Are you talking about controlling multiple relays with a single statement? Amod, can you switch on your mic and ask the question so that everyone can understand what question you are asking? If you want, you can also ask in the chat box here. So let us discuss with the code, right? Here I had said that the relay model working will be as follows. High will be on and low will be off. Previously in all examples we had seen that high was off and low was on. So now the logic has been reversed. So we have to make the changes accordingly. So here you can see that I am using the 4-channel relay, right? So for 4-channel, I need to have 4 pins. So I am using the D0, D1, D2 and D3 pins. The first 4 pins I am using there. So the pin numbers are 16, 5, 4 or 0. You can alternatively use D0, D1, D2, D3 also. Okay. So we had 16 and 5 already. So we are adding only 4 and 0 to it. Okay. So let us move to the code. See, I have added 2 statements here. The 4 and the 0 statement, that is the third relay and the fourth relay. Okay. So both are output devices. I have added output. The screen is not visible. Okay, just a second. I'm so sorry for that. We're disconnected. Okay, now is the screen visible?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. So we will start. So again, I'll start from the beginning. See, we have 4 relays here. Okay. So the statement was, the logic will be opposite, right? First of all, for the earlier examples, we had used a logic where high was off and low was on. Okay. So now the logic has reversed. That is high is on and low is off. Okay. So what we will be doing here is we will be using these 4 pins here. Okay. So the first 4 pins we are using D0, D1, D2 and D3. Now D0 is 16, D1 is 5, D2 is 4 and D3 is 0. So you can also use this thing or this thing. Okay. Now what we will do is we will add these lines to our code. So we are adding these 2 new lines, that is the third relay and the fourth relay. Right. Similarly, what we are doing here is we are adding the new 2 digital write statements. Now, in the earlier cases, here we had high, okay, because the logic was high was off, right? But initially, if I want to switch off now, then I will be using low because the logic has been reversed now, okay? So now here I have written low for each relay. So whenever the device will start, all the relays will be switched off initially, okay? Now another changes, other changes which we have done here are, here it was, when it was A1, it was low, right? There low was on, now high is on, hence we have changed it to high now, right? So A1 will be high, A101 will be low, A2 will be high, A102 will be low, and I have added 2 more devices, hence we are adding this part. So for A3 it will be high, right? The fourth pin will be high. For A103, the fourth pin will be low. That means high is on and this will be low. And the fourth relay was at pin number 0. So A4 will be high and A104 will be low. Okay. So that's all regarding the problem statement, right? Now, Amod was asking a question that is there any possible way to reduce the length of the code example by giving one command to perform multiple tasks? See, you can have a command where you want to switch on 2 devices simultaneously. So you can write the code accordingly. For example, if you want to switch 2 devices simultaneously using the same command, then what you can do is, if I is equal to A1, right? So you can write your second relay line also here. Okay. So what this will do is, when you are giving a A1 command, both the relays will be switched on simultaneously. For example, if you want to switch off both the relays simultaneously, so what you will do is you add here new line, okay? This will be low. So it completely depends upon how you want to use your device, okay? So we have come to the conclusion of our course, that is the embedded system course. So talking about the projects which you can have here are, you can have a monitoring system, right? You can have a controlling system. You can control multiple devices. You can have automation systems here, right? For example, if you want to control, any device at your home, you can use this coding for controlling devices. Okay. There are various other things that you can use here. Okay. If you are using multiple sensors, you can monitor that sensors through Wi-Fi. Right. You can monitor it locally as well as remotely. Right. As I said earlier, you can use various platforms such as Blink, ThinkSpeak, and other various platforms which are available, like the UB.dots and all. Right. So you have a vast scope, very vast scope in this IoT system, right? Then the products and applications, as I said earlier, there are various products which use IoT, right? They are all embedded system products, right? But they use IoT so that they are the smart devices, right? Any smart device has an IoT in it, right? IoT functionality in it. For example, the bulbs, the fans, the new fans which are there, right? And the devices like the home automation devices, right? The factory automation, industrial automation can be done using IoT. For example, if you have a factory in which there are various chemicals which need to be monitored, then you can use a pH sensor for monitoring that chemicals also. And then you can take your data to your Android app or your iOS app or your web server. Okay, so you can have a web app for that, or you can also have an Android app which is developed especially for that functionality. So there is a very vast scope in this functionalities. Okay, in this domain. Okay. So you can check out your courses at technic.com, and then mostly that's it for today. So tomorrow we will be starting with Raspberry Pi. Okay. So here we come to the conclusion of day 3.